Hello, welcome back. Today we're cutting through the glitter and the makeup to look at the messy reality of Euphoria. We're breaking down the four pillars of Euphoria: Rue, Cassie, Maddie, and Jules. And yeah, I've got some hot takes, so let's dive in. Rue isn't just the protagonist, she is a mirror for the audience's empathy. We root for her because we see her struggle, but here's the hot take: Rue is the most dangerous person in the show. Not because she's malicious, but because her addiction turns her into a master manipulator who burns every bridge meant to save her. We forgive her more than any other character, but in reality, she's the one who leaves the most collateral damage. Rue Bennett's journey from the first two seasons into the recent season 3 is a transition from the internal chaos of high school addiction to a high-stakes gangster-style survival drama. In the early seasons, Rue's struggle was largely internal and domestic. She was fighting her own brain and the trauma of losing her father. All of her anger was directed at her family, manipulating her mother, Leslie, and traumatizing her sister, Gia. Getting through the day, staying clean for Jules, or surviving the immediate aftermath of an overdose. But in season 3, Gia and Leslie were largely absent. Jules is also no longer Rue's reason for living or staying clean. While they reconnect in LA, the dynamic has shifted. Rue is now an informant in a lie or death situation, while Jules is navigating her own struggles as a sugar baby. The biggest change in Rue's character is her emotional removal. Season 1, Rue felt everything too deeply, which is why she used drugs to numb out. But in season 3, Rue is cold. She is willing to frame co-workers like magic and put herself in lethal situations just to clear her ledger. The season 3 cliffhanger in episode 5, This Little Piggy, where Rue is literally buried up to her neck at Alamo Brown's ranch, represents the ultimate point of no return. She has officially graduated from the messy teen archetype into a character caught in a literal life and death struggle, where her sobriety is almost an afterthought compared to her physical survival. Now, let's talk about the relationship between Rue and Jules in Euphoria. Their relationship is one of the most complex depictions of codependency on television. While there is genuine love there, the way Rue treats Jules is often defined by a heavy, unintentional burden. This is back in season 1 and season 2, and the most significant aspect of their dynamic was that Rue essentially made Jules her sole reason for staying sober. While it looks romantic on the surface, it's actually a form of emotional pressure. By making Jules her clean slate, Rue turns Jules into a 24/7 caretaker. If Jules pulls away or has a bad day, Rue's sobriety is suddenly at risk, which puts Jules in an impossible position where she can't breathe without fearing she'll cause a relapse. In season 3, the bridge between Rue and Jules has been scorched by the time and the harsh transition into adulthood. Their once magical, neon-soaked codependency has been replaced by a strained, haunted familiarity. Rue, now hardened by her dangerous role as a DEA informant, views Jules with a mixture of guilt and distance. She can no longer afford the vulnerability Jules requires. Meanwhile, Jules has moved from being Rue's savior to someone struggling with their own disillusionment in the LA scene. When they do collide, the spark is still there, but it's weighted by the 5 years of silence between them. They are no longer two souls trying to merge into one, but two separate survivors who realize they might be the only ones who truly understand the trauma of their shared past, even if they can no longer exist in each other's presence. Jules started as the manic pixie dream girl, but the show flipped the script. My hot take is that Jules is unfairly vilified by the fandom for cheating or leaving Rue. In reality, Jules was never equipped to be Rue's 24/7 sobriety counselor. Expecting a teenager to carry the weight of someone else's life is the real toxicity. Jules is just a girl trying to find her own identity outside of being someone else's reason to stay alive. I feel like that's a lot of pressure on a teenager who's already struggling with her own problems and issues. In season 3, Jules has shed her manic pixie dream girl origins to become a complex, isolated figure in the LA arts and nightlife scene. Following the 5-year jump, she is no longer the girl trying to find her place in East Highland. She is a woman struggling with the burnt out reality of having grown up too fast. Now let's talk about the Sugar Baby arc. Jules' most controversial season 3 plot involves her navigating the world of high-end companionship and sugar dating. It's a dark mirror to her season 1 behavior where she once sought validation from older men for her identity. She now does it for survival and financial independence. This arc highlights her ongoing struggle with self-worth and her belief that her value is tied strictly to her desirability. Now, the shadow of Rue still exists in Jules' life. Despite the time jump, Rue remains a ghost in Jules' life. When they reconnect, Jules has to confront the savior's trap all over again. The hot take here is that Jules is actually the most grounded character because she's the only one who acknowledges that their teenage romance was fueled by trauma, not health. Her distance from Rue in season 3 isn't abandonment, it's a necessary boundary for her own sanity. Focusing back on Jules, by the middle of the season, Jules begins to reject the hyper-feminine performance she's been trapped in. Her arc moves towards a raw, more masculine-leaning aesthetic, signaling a final break from the versions of Jules that were built for other people's consumption. She ends up being a survivor of the male gaze, trying to figure out who she is when no one is watching. And that is a quest for authenticity that Jules is taking. Cassie's arc is a tragic descent into total loss of self. My hot take is that Cassie isn't actually boy crazy. She's addicted to male validation as a survival mechanism. Her betrayal of Maddie wasn't about Nate. It was about a desperate, almost pathological need to be the chosen one, to prove she has value. She isn't a villain. She's a cautionary tale about what happens when you have no internal compass. But that was in season 1 and season 2. Season 3 of Euphoria has taken Cassie Howard into arguably the most polarizing and extreme character arc of the entire series. Following a 5-year time jump, the show deconstructs her desperate need for validation by placing her in a high-stakes adult environment that amplifies her worst impulses. Now let's do a deep dive in season 3 Cassie, which I like to call The Spiral Continues. In the premiere of season 3, we find Cassie living in a suburban bubble with Nate Jacobs. While she initially tries to project a picket fence fantasy, the reality is far darker. Their relationship is as unstable as ever, fueled by Nate's massive financial debts and Cassie's total loss of identity. A central plot point this season involves Cassie turning to OnlyFans to fund their lifestyle and Nate's mounting debts. This isn't portrayed as a path of empowerment, but rather a desperate extension for her season 2 4 a.m. beauty routine. The intent behind that is that Cassie believes that if she can be the perfect fantasy for thousands of strangers, she will finally feel secure. But honestly, I see why the show has faced significant backlash for scenes where Cassie leans into extreme fetishes such as the pet play and age play and other things, because it was honestly too much for the viewer. And critics argue these scenes are designed for shock value, while supporters claim they highlight how far Cassie will go to monetize the male gaze when she feels she has nothing else left. Now, the hot take on Cassie this season is that she has transitioned from a girl who sought male validation to a woman who is addicted to being perceived. Whether it's through Nate's eyes or a phone screen, Cassie cannot exist without a witness. Another hot take is that Cassie this season is the new addict. While Rue struggles with substances, Cassie's addiction is attention. She experiences withdrawals when she isn't trending or being validated, leading to increasingly unhinged behavior that rivals Rue's season 2 spiral. And also, her marriage to Nate wasn't a victory over Maddie, it was a life sentence. By marrying her prize, Cassie realized the prize was a debt-ridden, violent man forcing her into sex work to maintain the illusion of success. Now, in performance versus reality, Cassie is no longer a character. She is a performance, Every outfit, post, and video is a mask, making her the most lost character in the show. Even more so than Rue, who at least knows she's a mess. Maddie is often seen as the baddie with the sharpest tongue. But Maddie is the most emotionally mature person in the group. By the end of season 2, while everyone else is spiraling, Maddie was the only one who actually walked away from the toxicity. Her mean girl persona is a defensive suit of armor built to survive a broken home and an abusive relationship. Behind the outfits, she is the most loyal person on the screen. Maddie Perez in season 3 has fully transitioned from the baddie of East Highland to a calculated power player in LA. After the 5-year time jump, she has traded high school hallways for high-end PR and brand management, proving she was the only one with enough emotional intelligence to actually escape her hometown's gravity. Her most shocking arc involves her relationship with Cassie. Rather than staying enemies, Maddie has stepped in as Cassie's manager for her controversial online career. It's a masterful power play. Maddie isn't just helping her former best friend, she's controlling the narrative and watching Cassie's public breakdown from a position of absolute authority. Indifference is the ultimate revenge, and that is exactly what Maddie is given this season. The biggest takeaway for Maddie this season is her lack of anger. While fans expected a massive showdown, Maddie's total indifference towards Nate and her business-first approach to Cassie shows she has matured beyond them. She realized that Nate wasn't a prize to be won, but a weight to be dropped. She chose solitude. For the first time, Maddie isn't defined by a toxic relationship. She is single, successful, and cold. She serves as the anchor for the season, the only character who has successfully monetized her trauma and turned her survival instincts into a career, even if it means staying bonded to the people who hurt her most through a paycheck. 4 different girls, 4 different versions of chaos. Who do you think is actually the most at fault for the drama? Or is it just the effect of Sam Levinson's mind? Let me know in the comments, and see ya!